It's inevitable, isn't it, that after an election wipeout like the one that the Democrats suffered last November, there is going to be a period of reflection, if not silence, from them as they try to work out what to do. That's the case with any party that suffered such a blistering defeat.
They just scream and yell and think that that's going to get them attention, and they have a historic low. It's never been that low, and it's going to go lower.
The interesting thing with the Democrats, you say that they seem to be leaderless. That's really because they are.
They should have asked their question, do you really think Joe Biden would have won a white male over Donald Trump? And the answer is no. It wasn't racism, it wasn't misogyny, it's the message. Every single issue, crime, the border, foreign policy, the economy, inflation, energy, they're on the wrong side of public opinion.
There's a fundamental truth in democratic systems. Electoral defeat leads to internal party chaos. Historically, this has been seen across party lines. After the Republican loss in 2008, the party experienced an identity crisis before the Tea Party movement reshaped it.
The financial collapse of 2008 triggered it. Every financial collapse in human history has been followed by a populist revolt.
Similarly, the UK Labour Party struggled with leadership dilemmas after losing power in 2010. The Democrats' current instability is not unique, but what makes their situation particularly volatile is the increasing influence of radical factions, a trend seen in various political movements worldwide.
Kamala Harris and what's his name? Walz. What happened to them? They drifted away after the election thumping that they got, and it's not like any of the Democratic Party wants to hear very much from either of them after having led them to that defeat.
And now, welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy.
And then the rest of the party, you've got Minority Leader Senator Schumer.
Now, we have to fight that back in every single way.
Who has been castigated by his party for making a budget deal with the Republicans.
Democracy is at risk. Look, Donald Trump is a lawless, angry man. He thinks he should be king. He thinks he should do whatever he wants, regardless of the law.
Nancy Pelosi, the stripling of 84, has criticized Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer has, in fact, canceled the book tour he was going to go on in the coming days because of threats to him, not from Republicans, but from fellow Democrats. And so that's sort of the top of the party.
They get to reboot. They get to go back to the center. They get to scratch this whole thing. And the influences of a Schumer or a Pelosi or a movie star or an Obama deciding to anoint somebody, those guys are gone.
You go to the layers underneath that, and unfortunately for the Democrats, you see just this, case after case of somebody whose career is in cinders. Governor Gavin Newsom is trying podcasting.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast. And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician.
And that's because much of the district he was meant to keep an eye on burnt to the ground a few months ago. And he didn't do very much to stop that.
What do they spend on preventing these wildfires?
Zero.
Zip.
And in 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
It's hard to see how a little bit of podcasting could make up for that. And it's the same all the way down the party. There are people like Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor.
And you don't even realize it because you have stupid MAGA brain and you don't get it. How stupid and dumb are you? And I'm just going to I can't wait to go through this. Okay.
who claimed that the future of the party is the radical left wing of the party. But in fact, the only future of a party that those people are the future of is they are a future for the Republican Party. Because if the Democratic Party decides to take in the worst excesses of the Squad and others, then it's hard to see how the Republicans don't just continue winning for the foreseeable future.
You know what they're saying about the anti-immigrant stuff, right? Who's it to say that one of the jobs you might be seeking won't be one of those white jobs?
The Democratic Party is in disarray. With no clear frontrunner for 2028, the landscape is chaotic. Gavin Newsom is weighed down by scandals. AOC is mobilizing the party's progressive wing, and Bernie Sanders remains an unpredictable wildcard, a relic of past insurgencies. The party faces an identity crisis, torn between moderation and ideological purity, while time to find a unifying leader is running out. What about Tim Walz? Could he be a viable alternative? Or is he just another name in the mix without real momentum?
Where to even start with Tim Walz? He has cropped back up in recent days. First of all, to boast about his masculinity and to talk about what a threat he believes that he, the man known as Tampon Tin, how much of a threat he was to the Republicans because of his masculinity.
This notion of toxicity in masculinity needs to be separated.
Odd sort of thing to be boasting about and roaring about, but there it is. That's Tim Walz.
There is a crisis.
I think some of us scare them.
men.
I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it. No, I'm serious, because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not.
And then he cropped back up in front of some sycophants on stage and talked about how he gets happy each day by he downloaded the Share app that apparently you can have to monitor your shares. That's real man of the people stuff right there. And Tim Walz says he's added the Tesla shares to that and was celebrating Tesla shares going down.
They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
His state's pensions own 2 million shares of Tesla. So Tim Walz is cheering on the destruction of wealth for teachers and firefighters and service members there in the state of Minnesota. So
Tim Walz should look at where his shares politically are right now, and he'd see that they're close to bankruptcy. The thing that they most need to do, the Democrats, is they need to actually come up with some policies and some ideas that differentiate them from the Republicans. They spent years doing Republicans are fascists. It's the end of the republic. Democracy dies in darkness. If you vote in Trump, he's Hitler and it's all over. And it didn't work. It was clearly a total political play. It turned out the voters didn't believe them, and rightly so. But what do you do in the aftermath of that? They seem to be trying a little bit of stuff out, but they're going to have to put an awful lot more meat on the bone if they're going to look like a really reasonable, respectable party of opposition. And all parties need opposition. All governments need opposition.
They almost hate Elon Musk more than they hate Donald Trump these days.
They do. It's a rather strange turn for people from a political wing that talks about how much they love the environment so much and how they want to protect the environment to be setting light to anything and burning it down, setting light to cars that run on renewable energy. That's a really great way to say I heart the environment, isn't it?
Someone threw a Molotov cocktail at a Tesla service center. At least 5 Teslas blew up. When you pull out a chainsaw to celebrate firing thousands of people, they get mad.
The outright anger and rage that people are feeling about what Elon Musk is doing.
Any political side can do this, but it's extremely dangerous stuff when you start to say like that, well, you know, if you cut federal spending, you know, you can't expect people not to firebomb things. I mean, really? We're going there? Why this desire to legitimize totally pointless, destructive political violence? I can only assume that some of these people are people who are very bored, as well as very unpleasant indeed. They spent years, as I said earlier, saying that Donald Trump was Hitler. Now they've decided, in fact, Elon Musk is Hitler, which means you've got to burn the cars or something, or flip the finger to people driving a certain type of car. Nothing shows moderation and be kind better than just swearing at your neighbors because they've got a car whose company is founded by a man whose political views you disagree with. I mean, it's astonishing, but again, this is deadly. This is kryptonite for the Democrat Party. And for people like that guy who you showed at the beginning of that clip, he's meant to be, by the way, a late-night comedian. I don't know about you, but I mean, nothing he said or says is remotely funny. He's just one of these weird new clerics who appear on American television who were hired as comedians and then come out and give a boring lecture and excuse violence and think that will get them the big laughs. And we'll see. That's one of the reasons why people are turning off those programs. But it's quite sickening to see that, because if the Republicans did that and said, well, you can only push people so far before they start executing you, I think we'd all think that was a bit rum.
So where does this leave the Democratic Party? Is this just another rough patch in a cycle of political reinvention, or are we witnessing a slow, irreversible decline? Can they rally behind a leader with real vision, or will they remain stuck in a loop of infighting and reactionary politics? If Trump's movement is stronger than ever, and the Democrats are still searching for a direction, the real question isn't just who will lead them, but whether they can even be led at all.